let us all do we can to build a better future. With that being said, Daniel, you got a story for the people. What is going on?
Okay, so we have a story that is a tale as old as time. Both sides of Congress have decided that the number one most important thing about this impeachment trial, the impeachment trial that we've been trying to pretty deliberately avoid because it's basically useless and a waste of time to even talk about. Well, guess what? They're on board, and they're just using this to make money. Let's start with the first video.
All right.
Cashing in on impeachment. This should come as no surprise, but members of both parties are using the impeachment trial in the Senate to raise money from campaign donors. It's another key symbol of just what a potent political force Donald Trump was, particularly among small dollar donors. Remember, Donald Trump raised an enormous amount of money for his campaign. People opposed to Donald Trump raised an even larger amount of money. He sort of inflames passions on both sides. So we have Republicans and Democrats out sending fundraising emails as the trial was going on, trying to tap into that sentiment. Republicans, of course, were trying to raise money, saying that they were defending the president from an unconstitutional assault on his legitimacy, an impeachment trial that was baseless, and unfairly connecting him to the siege at the Capitol. And of course, Democrats taking the opposite approach, that the only way to get justice in America is for the impeachment trial to convict him, trying to raise money off of that. Now, of course, some people may see this as a little unseemly. If you may remember that even during the Capitol siege, there were some automated fundraising calls that went out. There were emails being sent to some donors asking for money while the Capitol was under attack. And we actually went up to a handful of folks on the Hill yesterday to ask them for their sense of that. They weren't really terribly defending it. Some people were saying these are things that were very much pre-planned, but despite the fact that what they were talking about, money is still the lifeblood of politics, and an impeachment is a big moment for people to cash in on.
All right.
Yeah, it's just a point that...
Pause it right there. So it's basically, that's the basic point. But the idea is that everyone knows, the only people that don't know this impeachment thing is just a joke are the sycophants that watch either Fox, MSNBC, or CNN. That's it. Everyone else should know. Even the Congress people know, because they're not, you know what you do if you're taking an impeachment seriously? You're not fundraising off of it. You're really not. You're going, man, this is pretty serious. But everyone knows that this is just a what's the Japanese theater style? What's it called?
Kabuki.
This is all kabuki theater.
Yeah.
Everyone's just going through the motions. Oh yeah, the Democrats want to impeach again. The same outcome as last time will happen, but they're doing it so they can say they impeached him twice. And I already talked about on the show how the millions of dollars are being wasted on this impeachment that's going to go nowhere. Trump's already been impeached once. He's not going to fully get taken out. It's like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing besides having your feelings, or really your pocket, your wallet is what's really crying here, because Democrats know that Biden's not the best guy to run the country. So they're just shoring up their own campaign funds right now. They're taking off any event they can. In this case, it's impeachment. So again, I will get to the point that I just made before we get to our next video. This is just kabuki theater. Everyone knows nothing's going to happen, so everyone's just making money off it. And that proves again that no one's taking this seriously, but there's nothing to take seriously about this. Trump's going to claim his lawyers can be as terrible as he wants. He just needs to say First Amendment defense, and that's going to happen. There's really good case precedent on this. Nothing's going to happen to him except people making money.
And even if anything were, I mean, look, here's the thing. Let's say Trump were to be held accountable, all right, in a scenario. You think that's going to end his name? We're going to be talking about Donald Trump for many more years to come. If there's one thing Donald Trump has successfully done, he has cemented his name in American politics. He is forever immortal in American politics. We are going to be talking about him for a very long time, and that's going to make a lot of people angry. And there's going to be a lot of liberal pundits and writers that are going to be writing books about the Trump presidency and everything else. But you're going to be talking about it no matter what. However incompetent you want to call Trump, however racist, sexist, misogynist, all these names you want to call him, he has secured his name in world history for decades, for centuries, dare I say it. So he's going to be around. And I think this impeachment trial is one big joke. And of course, you have Republican lawmakers and now Democratic lawmakers trying to profit off his name, trying to profit off this impeachment. And it just goes to show you that the system is right now one big sideshow, and they don't care. And again, shout out to Case Study QB. These two videos are from his Twitter account. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. Let's get that next video up.
Zeleny, how are you, sir? Tell us what you're seeing, because obviously the deal that was struck with the senators denies us the opportunity to see what they're doing There are cameras there that could show us, C-SPAN 2 cameras, but they have been turned off for the day. So what are you seeing? What's the
transparency,
color there?
everyone.
Why?
Jake, it certainly is a less intense day than yesterday. Certainly not as much video, not as much audio, not as many words of the former president himself echoing through the Senate chamber.
Could we pause it for 1 second?
Seeing more empty seats.
You know, as much as like there's people everywhere, like on YouTube, where we're talking about like censorship and like First Amendment violations, it's a private company. We know those rules don't apply to YouTube, but you would expect they would apply to, I don't know, the deliberative body of the U.S. government, but I guess not.
Yep.
No one needs to know what they're saying.
Let's play
On
the video.
the floor of the Senate, our colleague Manu Raju was in the Senate chamber just a few moments ago. He counted up to 15 empty seats on the Republican side of the chamber, and that is how senators sit. Democrats on one side, Republicans on the other side. You know, and they can be watching this from other places, no question. But clearly, there is a sense of fatigue sitting in among the jurors, among the senators. They're not required to sit and watch the proceedings, and that is one big difference from a year ago. The first impeachment trial, all senators were required to sit at their desks. Because of the pandemic, they're allowed to be other places, but it's clear that some are not paying attention. As well as Florida Senator Rick Scott appeared to have a map of Asia in front of him and appeared to be writing in the names of the countries in Asia. He was doing that. On the other side, on the Democratic side, Senator Bernie Sanders appeared to be dozing off for a bit. This is based on just observations in the gallery of the Senate chamber. But no question there is not as much attention and focus being paid on this. But certainly in the coming hours, if this wraps by a late afternoon, as it's expected, there is still more testimony coming, still drawing that link between the president's actions and those insurrectionists here on Capitol Hill, Jake.
All right, Jeff Zeleny, thanks so much. We're going to squeeze in a quick break.
So again, it's just, I mean, it's more of what we have just said. No one's taking this truly seriously. Everyone's just talking about it. Like, we would know if there's an insurrection. And again, you can look at case law of the Civil War. You can look at case law of the Revolutionary War. It's like they're trying to prove this is all just a waste of time of people who really should be trying to make your life better in some way, shape, or form, with Biden's paltry agenda of doing barely nothing that he's already gambling and giving away to the lowest bidder. They're not even willing to do that. They promised you checks. They promised you $2,000 checks immediately, and the second that you voted for them, now it's at some point we might do something maybe.
One thing I want to bring up too, and that is, when we look at this trial, like, okay, 15 seats are empty in there.
Yeah.
Do you think everyone would be participating in there?
Yeah.
No one cares. Now, what happened on January 6th was a disaster, okay? There was a horrible riot that took place in the, air quote, people's building, even though it's like lobbyists and corporatists have more sway than the people in the people's building. But it once again shows that our lawmakers, again, be they Republican or Democrat, they're just using this again to make profit. They're just there to show up. And, I don't know what everyone's really kind of expecting from this trial. Like, okay, I think the best case scenario is stopping Trump from running for office again in 2024. Okay, and let's say they get that done. Okay, fine. What about the next Trump? What about, dare I say it, a more competent version of Trump? Because Trump's legacy, he has impacted our politics for a very long time. And he's not going anywhere. And his legacy will not go anywhere. And the thing is, what I'm afraid of, what's going to add more fuel to the fire of probably a more competent version of Trump running, is that the Democrats promised the American people $2,000 in stimulus checks. They promised us relief. They promised us help. And we're not getting it. And when we walk into the 2022 midterm election cycle, there's two ways this will play out. It's either it's going to be really boring and dull and lack of voter turnout, or it will be a slaughter for the Democrats. Because again, if they're failing to perform in regards to giving immediate relief, stopping evictions, making sure we get continuous stimulus checks, I really can't see how they're going to pull this out of the fire. And it's going to lead a pathway to somebody far more dangerous than Trump in 2024. And then we'll be stuck with the same propaganda again. Well, you got to vote blue no matter who, because we got to stop this Republican lawmaker because they're the next Mussolini or something like that.
And I want to just jump to a comment by Dave, who is literally going to say who commented the same thing I was about to say, is that the purpose that they keep talking about why they're impeaching Trump is they don't want to have him run for election again. That's loser thinking.
Yeah,
that's
weak.
Complete loser thinking. That's like, hey, this terrible person might run again and win, when the correct way of thinking is, oh man, that guy's going to be so easy to beat. I can't wait to slap him around in the debates. I can't wait to have way better policies. I can't wait to have a more believable, truthful candidacy. But the fact that the Democrats are so terrified of Trump running for a second term is, again, pathetic. And they don't even believe in it. That's why they're fundraising off it right now.